Alien Covenant didn't really hold any bars when it came to its scenes, but there's one that comes to mind that was left very open, and I think it was left open intentionally. As with all Alien Covenant discussion videos from here on out, we will be discussing spoilers, so you have been warned. So let's get into this. As we approach the film's climax, we start seeing David take a turn for the dark after saving our characters. He starts trying to communicate with the Neomorph in his weird way. He takes Orym down to the chamber with all the eggs in it and lets a facehugger jump on him. He also goes in on Walter when Walter tries to confront him for how he is, and basically saying he's really screwed up and he's not normal. And today David responds by hitting Walter in a sensitive spot that's supposed to shut him down. You see like the android blood dripping out of Walter, and he's kind of in like a hunched over, almost fetal position, as if he's been disabled. Then after that, it cuts to Daniels, and Daniels is investigating, and she finds David's studies where he's sketched out his experiments and I guess has cataloged in drawings his experiences, because we also see Elizabeth Shaw drawn with like her bottom jaw missing and stuff. And then David confronts Daniels and he starts attacking her, and then we find out that Walter wasn't shut off and they get into this big fight. So at the end of the film, David disguises himself as Walter and sneaks aboard the Covenant. But one thing we never really see is Walter's fate. And with a film that was making scenes and just death like completely blatant, it just doesn't really make much sense to me why they would just omit Walter's death. So I'm kind of gonna delve a little bit deeper into that and what I think could happen. This whole concept could go a couple of ways. We may see the uncut fight in the DVD release as a deleted scene, as with anything that is potentially not on film. But I think Ridley Scott intentionally left this open, and it actually ties into a theory in my previous video. So as far as, crazy alien theories, I think it's safe to say that I've been like pretty solid on predicting what's happening with this franchise so far. If you saw my Alien Day recap, I was talking about David wearing the Covenant stuff, and I kind of already had a hunch that was going to happen anyways at some point. But they fleshed out the character Walter to the best of their abilities, showing that he does have deep compassion for Daniels and humans, and he does not like David at all. He started to, and then he kind of fell off after he realized that David was insane. So what am I getting at here? So in my last theory, I stated that David could potentially be the space jockey at the beginning of the original Alien film, and it's kind of a mixed thing. Again, it's just a theory that could potentially happen, that I think that is what this entire anthology of films is leading up to. And I kind of want to elaborate on that a little bit more, because a lot of people in the comments were saying, well, where does he get an engineered derelict ship? And I didn't really have an answer for it until now, because I just thought of it today. So David is on the Covenant, and he is escaping to Orgai 6, I believe is a planet called, with the colonists and with two facehugger embryos and with Daniels and with Tennessee. And Walter's fate is undetermined. So I think you guys might be kind of picking up on what I'm getting at, but to go a little bit further, I personally think that maybe Walter didn't get killed. Maybe David felt mercy for, his own kind, since they're both synthetics. maybe because they did say that David, he was a little bit closer to a human than possible, and his thought processes were different. Maybe he just left him there. And maybe, again, this is just a theory. I'm just thinking out loud here. This film series could go any way possible. So maybe he did spare Walter, or maybe Walter survived, and Walter is literally marooned on an engineer planet. So, there's always a chance that maybe Walter could repair the derelict that David and Shaw crashed, because it was still working in the film. It was just crashed into the mountain. Maybe he somehow finds another. I mean, it is literally an engineer planet. So there's got to be more than just one derelict ship that is on the planet that's crashed. There's probably somewhere in some sort of storage or something. Why David may not have investigated that any deeper, I don't know. That could be an argument to it, but at the same time, he was focused on his experiments and not so much about getting off the planet. So that could potentially be an idea. And maybe tying into my other theory, maybe Walter, gets one of these ships, the derelict ships. Maybe he flies it to Orgai 6, and then we catch up with everything that I was talking about with what David wanted to do, where he wanted to become, a god, and he, takes the black goo or whatever and mixes it with himself. Maybe that's how the black goo gets on the planet in the first place, for David to do this, to show that he's superior to the others. And then that's how we unfold the events. That's how he gets fossilized into the chair. And then that is how he tries to escape, somehow gets, a face hugger on him with all that going on, and then ends up crashing on LV-426, and then boom, we're back into the backside of the first movie. That's my theory. I don't think Walter's dead. They wouldn't have left it ambiguous if he was. So I think Walter's going to be back in the future. That's all I got. I'll see you in the comments. Let me know what you think. Again, it's just a theory, all in good fun. We still don't know anything about the next film at all. We don't even know if any of the characters are going to return. So let me know what you guys think of this theory. It is a bit out there, but technically it makes sense. So yeah, guys, I'll see you in the comments, and that'll do it for this one.